Hey, folks, Fan Stream Sports, the Jeff Thitoff Show. Tito here with you. And I decided today that I want to have the lowest possible average age in the studio at one time. You see, it's the old Tim May, old Clay Hall. We got Jack Diwik now. He is a senior at Ohio State and the sports editor for The Lantern. He's joining us now to talk all Ohio State. Jack, welcome, first of all. And you covered Ohio State football this year, and you're covering Ohio State basketball quite a bit this year as well. I'm curious. Let's start with football right now. Where the team's at in the transfer portal, guys. We've had guys leave, obviously, and the portal's about to close up here shortly. Is there a position that you think Ohio State has not addressed yet that they need to or do more of?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on. But I mean, as of yesterday, I would have said kicker was the position. They didn't even have a kicker on the roster with Jaden Fielding graduating and that Jackson transferring. But they addressed it last night, brought in the Baylor guy. But I would still, with defensive end, Kenyatta Jackson hasn't made his decision yet, whether he's coming back or not. Caden Curry's graduating. They brought in the kid from Alabama. He didn't have a lot of production at his time at Alabama. I think he had 2 sacks last year, got injured. So I would like to see them shore up at defensive end. And then also, I think what's on everyone's mind is the receiver position. Just kind of with Hartline leaving and then Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter. I feel like that was kind of a surprise to some people, both of them leaving. You bring in the kid from UTSA who kind of plays out of the slot a little bit. And then I just think it kind of puts a lot of pressure on Chris Henry Jr. kind of coming in at day one, having to step on the field. So I think that they might need to look at bringing in maybe one more guy just to shore up some depth. But I think defensive end is where I would go right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I know we'll hear the deadline is coming up, to enter the draft if you're going to or not. I know it's happening rather soon. Do you think that the fact there's no offensive coordinator in place yet, and there's the rumors about Matt Patricia might be back, might not be, do you think that uncertainty has affected the portal at all for Ohio State?
I think maybe a little bit. I'm not sure how much that really does affect the portal. I think the offensive coordinator more than Matt Patricia's kind of future might affect it a little bit. I think Ohio State and Ryan Day might be waiting for the NFL kind of cycle to finish up a little bit before they make a decision on that. But what I would say about offensive coordinator is I think Day needs to bring in kind of a fresh, just somebody fresh, somebody not in the building who can kind of get in his ear a little bit and maybe change things up. Because I think Ryan Day, he's a great play caller, but I think he's at his best when he can kind of manage the team and act as almost like the CEO of the team rather than having his face in a play sheet the whole game. And I think a fresh mind who can kind of check him and be like, just give a new perspective other than someone in the building who's kind of going along with him would be very helpful for the Buckeyes.
Curious, because you're obviously your experience, you've done this for a few years now with Ohio State sports, but was there a point when you first started doing it, were you kind of starstruck sometimes?
Yeah. I always say this because this year was my first year doing football, and it's kind of crazy because I was just a regular student on the national championship run last year. So you'd see like Jeremiah Smith and all these guys. And then over the summer, I kind of got thrown into this role where I was like, all right, it's time to go cover the team. And, you're at the Woody and you're in front of Jeremiah Smith and all these guys you've been watching on TV. And, it was tough to like kind of go from that student who was just watching on TV to being like, all right, it's time to go ask Jeremiah Smith a question. It was definitely a transition.
What's been your interactions like with Ryan Day?
Yeah, so I just being at the Woody and being around Ryan Day and kind of going to all of his media stuff, just listening to him speak like on a weekly basis, I think is pretty incredible just to kind of see how he operates. More than like I think the average fan might, see him at a press conference after the game, see him on the sideline, see him on TV, but just kind of understanding his mindset on how to approach every game and how to approach a season in general just when you're there, it's very interesting to see.
And for me, I remember Matt Patricia as kind of the, I'll put it politely, a gruff kind of head coach with the Lions. You see him out there, he's got the full beard, he's always got the pencil. And when I got to meet him for the first time and do an interview with him, I was blown away with how personable he is, and very friendly, it seemed like. And I was concerned about Ohio State's defense coming in with all the people they lost. And to see how they were better this year defensively, that impressed me quite a bit. How about with you, with Patricia? Same kind of.
Yeah, I mean, with Day, he at the Woody he'll kind of do his press conference and he's gone. But Patricia, I mean, after practice, he sticks around for 30 minutes, an hour after, just kind of hanging out. Like, you can just go up to him, say what's up. Like, first time I met him, he was like, I would love to, come onto campus, and I would love to have all the media in a film session. And like, he was just, I was the same way. I was blown away, on how personable he was. But to go on the defensive perspective, I wasn't too shocked that the defense was that good, because they did bring back, I think retention was a big thing.
Sure.
And they had those guys waiting in the wings, like Arvell Reese, I think would have played on 95% of the teams during that national championship season. But I think the main part on the defense was Patricia's obviously a great coach, but they also had kind of another coach in Caleb Downs out there who, I mean, he is one of the smartest people in general, not even just athletes, that I've ever seen operate, just from a football standpoint. It's incredible.
I was so damn confident Ohio State was going to beat Miami. I went on a couple different shows. I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to win by double digits. That's going to be an easy win. I'm curious what your thought was going in, and how surprised were you by the outcome?
So out of 10, I would say I was about a 6.
Yeah.
With the outcome. I did a story before the game in Dallas, and kind of the theme was Ohio State needs to block them, and if they can't block them, it's going to be trouble, and they couldn't block them.
Right.
So that didn't surprise me. And then what kind of did surprise me the most, it wasn't, I think the offensive line play being uneven was, I mean, we saw it in Indiana. That didn't surprise me, but I think the defense on that last drive was just the most surprising part, how they just kind of got pushed around by Miami. Right. Miami has a great offensive line, but I mean, they were getting dominated up front, and Miami just kind of ran it down their throat for 4 minutes to end the game, and then punched it in. And I think that was the most surprising part, because you didn't really see Ohio State's defense bend like that too much throughout the season.
Jack Diwik joins us here. He is with the Lantern, sports editor there. Ohio State senior, has been covering the team and also covering basketball as well. And I feel like, and I love Jake Diebler, but I feel like if they don't make the NCAA tournament this year, it's okay to question whether you should still be the head coach. I'm not saying you should fire him for sure, but if they miss it again this year, it seems like it's a conversation that should happen. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I think all the questions surrounding Jake Diebler are totally fair right now.
Yeah.
I think I have seen improvement from an in-game management perspective from last year to this year. I feel like he's doing all the right things with calling timeouts, with his rotations and stuff. But the only thing that what people are saying, what I would agree with, is he himself, I think, would tell you that the transfer portal class last year was not a hit. And I think the issue is that class was better than this year's class, when he had a whole season to kind of get his guys in. And, depth was a huge issue last year, and it's arguably even worse this year. And now you're down Brandon Knoll, your 6th man, and then Christoph Tilley. We'll find out later today on media availability what's going on with him, but he could be looking at missing a few games, and there's not a lot of depth out there for scoring wise.
If you're going to, looking at the schedule, if you're going to have Tilley miss games, I'd rather miss a few games in February, just because they've got to stack wins up now. The schedule gets brutal in February. They've got to stack up wins right now. They got the one on the road against Oregon, I know, and then they lose to Washington. But the depth thing, I thought the depth, and I know injury's part of it, but I expected more production out of the non-starters. And they had the one game against Oregon with 0 points. on the bench. They didn't score. The bench didn't score against North Carolina either. I know we had Gabe Cupps got 9 against Oregon, right? Is that what he got 9 against?
Yeah.
Or was it? Okay.
Yeah.
9 against Oregon. But that to me though is what surprised me probably most about this season.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought Brandon Knoll was going to be a guy that could fill into that starting role, and then you have Amari Bynum off the bench. And I think Amari Bynum's first start was against West Virginia and Cleveland during that game. And from that West Virginia game to the Nebraska game, they had 5 halves out of 8 where they had 0 bench points. And one of those games was against Grambling State. And they still got outscored by like 12 points off the bench against Grambling State, which is, I mean, against a team like that, you expect to play guys late in the game. That's not good. So, yeah, I think the bench is the most glaring issue on that team right now.
I have felt like before the season, I thought, this team, you've got a senior leader at point guard who when he gets on a roll, he's unstoppable. Yeah. We've seen it a couple times this year, but we've seen it throughout his career. And I just figured that they had the makeup of a team that could make some noise in the NCAA tournament, because if you get a senior point guard who can score, a senior guard that can score, that's a big deal. You look at past champions, and it seems like that's been a common theme with a lot of these teams. I like Mobley. When he gets hot, he can carry the team as well. Mm-hmm. Bynum's been awesome. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, as I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to figure out how many wins they have to get in. Because last year, I know they were, 17 and 15 last year, whatever. Ken Palm loved them. They had a great rating there.
They do again this year.
Yeah, they love them again this year, which I can't figure out. I want to talk to Ken Palm. Anyway, but they're loved that way. But I feel like it's still going to take 20 wins for them to get in.
Yeah, I would agree. Talking with guys on the B, it's kind of like if they win the games they're supposed to win, they should get in.
Yes.
But the issue is, I'm not sure that they're going to win. I mean, the Big Ten is such a tough conference that even a road game at, one of those lower level Big Ten teams, that's no gimme. Even for the top teams like Purdue, you saw Purdue go into Penn State and only win by, or Michigan go into Penn State and only win by 2 points, on a not last second, but at the end of the game. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I would say 19 wins puts them in the conversation when you go into the Big Ten tournament and maybe win a game or two. But I would say it's kind of an uphill battle at this point.
It's a gauntlet what February looks like for them. And,
it's nuts.
And you've covered them enough. You know this. And I know it going back even further. Like it seems like for the last since the end of the Thad tenure and all the way through Holtman, January wins were few and far between. And so, I felt like when they beat Oregon on the road, that felt like 2 wins to me because I'm so used to them gagging away those games somehow. And then I was hoping maybe momentum for Washington didn't happen. But, if you look at the schedule for February, there's not many games in there. February this year could look a lot like January in years past if you look at the schedule.
Yeah. And, in years past, I think in the last 2 years, they did not have a lot of road wins at all. And they already, they started off 3-0, I think, for the first time since 2019 on the road this year. And then, so I will give Jake Diebler credit for that. I mean, we haven't seen that since, early, Kata Bates Diop days, with Chris Holtman. So I will give him credit for that. But I mean, there's no gimmies at all throughout the season.
Yeah, I look at this team and I'm a Diebler fan, so I hope regardless he's back next year, because I like the fact that it is a younger coach. Mm-hmm. I think he can relate well with the players. And I hope they make it this year. But like I said, because I don't want to see another coaching change this quickly.
Yeah.
I know Ohio State, if you look at in the football program, even before, Holtman got a hell of a chance here, a long time, even with some very lean years at the end. Thad was great from the start, but going back further, they typically did not get rid of guys that quickly. Yeah. And I think the fact if Diebler were 15 years older, it probably wouldn't hit me the same way. But the fact he's a young guy who's got a chance to have a long career here, hopefully, that's why I root for the guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think he, you said he's personable and he can relate to guys. And I think, you see that in recruiting. He brought in the first 5-star, the highest rated recruit since Greg Oden. Yeah. Which is nuts. I mean, considering the state of Ohio State's program right now, to bring in a guy like Anthony Thompson, that's unheard of. Yeah. So I think that will factor into whether they bring Diebler back next year. Is
right.
You might lose Thompson. They got another borderline 5-star in 2027,
Right.
LJ Smith, who might reclass next year. There are talks about that. So I think that's kind of a side that I think Jake Diebler is doing really well at, is recruiting out of high school. But I think the fact that they brought him in internally and didn't go out and give, like, if he was a guy that went out and gave a huge contract, I think he'd definitely be back next year. But the fact they got him internally, I think the leash might be a bit shorter on him.
Where can people find you on social media, Jack?
They can find me on Twitter, Jack Diwik. Just type that in.
Diwik. I had to ask him also.
Yes.
So find him there. Appreciate the time. Thank you so much. And we'll do this again real soon.
Yeah, 100%.
That was Jack Diwik. Yep, with the Lantern. Follow him on Twitter, Jack Diwik, Diwik. We'll talk again soon with him. And coming up later on, we got Highness on. Hang on for dear life. We get him on. That's coming up in our next segment. This is the Jeff Thitoff Show. I'm Tito here on FanStream Sports.
Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the J.P. Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thitoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream, fanstreamsports.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream.
All right, folks, he's here. Your Highness. Chad joins us right now. Just Your Highness. I shouldn't even say Chad. WeWinYouWin.com is where you can find him. If you have not seen his work yet, you will become a fan after this segment we do right here. He's out in Arizona. And curious, let me ask you this question first, though. I saw that there were in excess of 20 people arrested for like a point shaving scandal in college basketball. And I'm curious, have there been times when you've had money on something and watched it and said, you know what, I think there's something shady going on here?
100%. Yeah, I just saw that news break maybe an hour or so ago, so I haven't really dived too deep into what was all going on. I know it involved a lot of smaller schools from what I kind of first glanced at, but yes, actually earlier this season, a college basketball season, it was one of these smaller schools, and I had a bet on the game, and one of the guys who's one of our experts in our group had mentioned that there was kind of word that these guys were on the take. Well, about a week later, the news came out on ESPN that team, like 3 or 4 of their players, were being investigated for some type of, point shaving or something like that as well.
Yeah, I always wonder about that, because anymore now that there's legalities involved with it, and with I'm sorry, like betting goes in many states now, I imagine people watch it a lot more closely. It's more investigated. And I think that there's a lot more background stuff being done on these things. That so many people now, it's blown up. I know here in Ohio, when the betting first became legal, it was the online betting, I should say, when all of that first came with the different casinos, it just blew up here. It was amazing. I think Ohio is still one of these states that's probably like top 3 or 4 as far as online gambling.
Yeah, I want to say for sports betting, they're usually always in like the top 5, top 6 or so as far as the states. But here's a few things that I worry about. We've already seen there in Ohio, Governor DeWine eliminate college props as well. So that's something to look out. Maybe legislators start seeing all these major news articles, and maybe they tighten it up, and maybe some states decide that they don't want to offer sports betting anymore. So that worries me a little bit. I heard somebody say, and I can't remember where I heard this, but I thought it was a hell of a take. And they said they should have the players be allowed to opt in or opt out of being bet on individually. Meaning, if you're, and probably maybe this works more on a professional level, but let's say you're Puka Nacua, a wide receiver for the Rams, and you don't want the death threats or the weirdos out there tracking you down because you didn't have a good game or anything like that. Maybe these guys can opt out of being bet on, so you couldn't even place a bet on them because he doesn't want you hunting them down on social media or whatever else like that. So I thought that was kind of a good take and something maybe to consider in the future.
So give me some back. I know when I grew up, you would see the ads come across about these guys who would do infomercials, and tout what they know. I'm like 98% of the time. I got 9 out of 10 picks last week. You'll make money, and they charge money for that. And usually it was a pretty exorbitant amount they would charge when you called them to try to get that kind of service. What did you like? What got you into this?
Oh, just by complete accident. I had no intention of doing this at all. So let me give you the really quick run of it. Grew up in a little town there in Ohio called Perrysburg, Ohio. I was born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. Perrysburg's just a suburb. I've been a sports nut since I could walk. I mean, youth sports, I played everything from soccer to t-ball to baseball to football to wrestling to whatever it was offered. I played it all through elementary and everything else. Sports is where I thrived. Athletics is where I thrived, and so I really took a knack to it. Fast forward to the sixth grade. Yeah, the sixth grade. I think I was 12 years old. This would have been the year after Greasy and Woodson and those guys won a national championship at Michigan. By the way, I am a Michigan fan. Sorry to those Buckeye fans listening. And I was a diehard Michigan fan. And growing up in Toledo, it's pretty split. And so I had a lot of classmates in the sixth grade that were big Buckeye fans. So I started
cleaned up then.
I started taking action. We're talking $5-10, but in sixth grade back in, I want to say this was 1999 or something like that. No, Michigan lost the game. So the year after Michigan won a national championship, they actually lost to Ohio State. Oh, I want to say Joe Germain maybe would have been the quarterback.
It was Joe Germain. Jimmy Bell is somebody who I do a podcast with, and he played nose tackle, defensive tackle, whatever on that team. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say I was at that game. If that game was played, if it was the 2000 game, I want to say it was in the Big House. Somebody's going to correct me on this. But either 2000 or 2001 would have been my first in-person Michigan-Ohio State game at the Big House.
Okay.
And I know for a fact Joe Germain was the quarterback in that game.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was a starter for 1 or 2 years. But whatever that was, around 2000, 2001 was my first thing. So anyway, so I took a bunch of bets. I was basically kind of a bookie because I was taking both sides of the action, $5-10 bets. That was in the sixth grade. Got in a little bit of trouble, but nothing more than like a slap on the hand kind of thing. Fast forward to high school. I'm kind of getting big into the like fantasy football, which isn't directly sports betting, but you're definitely kind of doing the same type of skill set as far as looking through data points and things of that nature. I get into college, and I guess this is where the gambling world enters my life. So I was a collegiate golfer, a scholarship golfer, and like I said, athletics was pretty big in my life growing up. And I went down to Jacksonville, Florida, University of North Florida. And why that's relevant is because in the state of Florida at that time, they had dog tracks. And these dog tracks, inside these dog tracks had poker rooms. And you only needed to be 18 years old in order to gamble or bet in Florida on the dogs or the or even highlight. You could bet on the highlight down there.
Right.
But yeah, you only had to be 18. So that was the big poker boom, the Chris Moneymaker big poker boom. ESPN started showing all the World Series of Poker things. So that took off. Was doing online poker a ton as well. So I basically was going to school and playing poker, I guess, semi-professionally. I made probably around $30,000 in one semester as like a 19-year-old kid, which to me felt like
that's a lot of money.
$1 million. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It felt like a ton of money. So I decided I was going to be a professional poker player. That's what I was going to do. So my senior year of college, I think I was 15 credits short of graduating. I decided to drop out and pursue a professional poker career. My parents still give me a hard time about that for today. But so anyways, I did that for about 2 years. I was actually playing up in Detroit and Windsor, Canada, in the casinos there. And I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but there was a time where I got up to where I was playing 15-30, which is a pretty high limit game. And I was going on, massive $1,000 swings. I had one of my best months ever where I won over $40,000. But the next month after that, I lost about $25,000, which still, if you told a 21, 22-year-old kid you're going to make $15,000 in 2 months, that's pretty good. But for me, it was devastating. And I realized maybe I didn't have the emotional maturity at that time, such big swings. And that's when I made the decision to get into the other side of the table. And I ended up becoming a blackjack dealer and got into the casino business that way.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So from that point, then I moved out to Arizona to get a job out here dealing blackjack. Did that for a little over a decade, and then just got sick and tired of working every holiday, every weekend. I was working 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Really hard to have a social life or a normal life outside of that. So then I moved into sales. Meanwhile, this whole time, I'm betting on sports, mostly just football. Again, as a casual fan, probably as most people watching or listening, I would bet regularly. And actually, I was probably the biggest proponent, or the biggest, I guess, person of saying, don't ever pay somebody for picks. 99% of these guys are full of doo-doo. They don't know what they're talking about. They're putting up, miscellaneous information or the fixed information. So I used to say, hey, don't ever pay these guys. Don't ever pay these guys. Don't ever pay these guys. Fast forward through COVID. COVID happens. My company that I'm working for basically shuts down. I moved to Austin, Texas, where the laws and things are a little bit more open. I had an old buddy that works in the casino business that runs a poker room, went out there, dealt for about 6 months to kind of get through COVID, came back to Arizona, said, all right, I'll get back in sales, just kind of what I was doing before.
Right.
But now sports betting was legal in Arizona. So now I was kind of having a field day, and I just kind of looked at my life, and I was like, I'm not happy in sales. I mean, it's good money, don't get me wrong, but I'm not happy in sales, and sports is what I love my whole life. So I literally, about 3 years ago, quit my job full time and went for this. And I haven't looked back since. And I originally started this all off as free because I didn't want to charge nobody nothing. And then I found out real quick some of the people that are freebies aren't the most joyous people to be around and have around you. So I decided we're going to charge a very nominal price, keep it very friendly for people. At the end of the day, I need to make you money for you to keep paying me. That's my motto. So if I ain't making you money, this whole racket doesn't work. So it's very transparent, Tito. I know you're part of the community as well, but basically what I've built is something that I would want as if I was a sports bettor. So it is a community where you get to talk and communicate with every other single person that's subscribed. You're not worried about people giving one pick to one guy, one pick to another guy. You're seeing the actual bet slips from myself and all the other experts. We run giveaways and contests. We have meetup events. We do it all. If you are a degenerate or somebody that likes to bet and gamble and bet on sports, no matter how good you are, this is the place for you. The amount of information that's provided, the amount of insight. This month, I'll see, during Christmas, so December, I think we gave away over $300 worth of free bets to members within the community. So we give a lot back. Look, we don't win all the time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we win all the time. Our 2025 numbers, I think our win percentage was 56%, which doesn't even sound that sexy. But when you realize that I play a lot of plus money, a lot of even money to plus money plays, you only got to go 50% to be profitable. A $100 bettor should have made over $26,000 within our community just following the official plays, which is each expert puts out the 4 official plays each day. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded.
No, I'm curious though, like when you started doing this though, how did you grow the business? Because, it's not like I can't believe you were on TV advertising it. I mean, it's like, how did this start to grow? How'd you get it to where it's at now?
Just a little bit of luck. So when I came back from Texas, it was right about a week or two before the Super Bowl. And I've been in this group of guys who've been doing Super Bowl squares just kind of internally amongst themselves for a decade. And it was always $25 a square. I used to like to buy 4 squares, $100. And I came back and they jumped the price up to $100 a square. And I was like, I'm not paying $400 for squares, yada, yada, yada. I created a Facebook group, invited all my college buddies and coworkers and things like that I had on Facebook. And I was going to run my own just Super Bowl squares, $25 just for something fun, nothing more, nothing less. That was going to be it. It went well. I said, okay, well, let's do like a March Madness bracket because it's like right after February. And that went well. And I was like, and people kept kind of joining. And I was like, well, I'll just post my plays here in the feed or on the chat for people. And so I did that for about 6 months or 8 months. And the community just kept growing. I wasn't really pushing it or whatever, people just inviting people. And then I said, okay, well, let's start a community here. And I'm not going to charge. Let's just do it for free. Because again, this whole time I'm preaching, do not pay anybody for picks. It is stupid. I'm preaching this. So I probably look like a big hypocrite. But So I did for free, and then I realized within 2 months that I don't like people. No, no, and I say that to make you laugh, but in all seriousness, some of the biggest complainers or the people that give you the most hard time are the people that would never give you $1. Would never actually value your information or insight to even give you $1. So then I said, okay, well, let's weed out some of these riffraffs. I'm going to charge $4.20 a week, just a random number I picked out.
Of course it is. Yeah, it's just random.
And I said, let's see how many people even go for this. And we had, I don't know, 40 or 50 people sign up. And I was like, well, we might have something here. So we kind of did that. And then I started. So for those that don't know, how I got the name Your Highness is from this point right here. So when I started doing that, I started saying, okay, I'm going to go do free videos, like free play videos to put out for the public. But I want to do something that kind of separates myself from everybody else, right? Because there's 1,000 people or more out there doing this. Well, I enjoy, taking a little cannabis in from time to time. So I said, let's see if I can get away with smoking cannabis on YouTube or Facebook, where these platforms shut you down pretty quick. Let's see if I can get away with it. I don't have enough followers to care if everything gets shut down. So I started doing free plays where I would smoke my bong, smoke weed, and then give you my play, the quote-unquote highest play of the day, play on words.
Right.
And then I don't know who said it, but somebody said, oh, Your Highness, or something along those lines, and it just kind of stuck, and we went with it. And then I've kind of leaned into embrace it. So that's kind of how that name came about. But yeah, it's all been organic. I mean, I've really not you're not going to see me out there with a bunch of ads. You're not going to see me out there with a bunch of stuff. That's not really my thing. Most of the people join because they see me on social media, or their friend or buddy or something is in the group and he tells them about it and they join. So I do a lot of word of mouth. A lot of word of mouth is how we grow as well.
And also, I know that I participated in some of your squares contests that, you certainly, there's a big part of you wants to give money back and give to charities and people who can help other people.
Yeah. So let me give you that backstory of my life. So back to when I was in high school, we had an opportunity our junior and senior year to volunteer for a camp for like 5th and 6th grade kids. So I did that. So that's kind of where it started. When I went on to college, our college coach recommended that we maybe seek some type of charitable organization or something to maybe give back to the community, And I took 2 big brothers, big sisters. So all 4 years I was down there, I was assigned a little brother and would go 3 to 4 times a week over to their school, usually during recess, things like that, and hang out, play with them, and just kind of give them, I guess, more of an adult male figure to kind of be around. A lot of these kids were fatherless or father wasn't in the picture, things like that. So that's where I kind of got into Special Olympics a little bit. And then fast forward to after college, when I was kind of playing poker professionally, my father at the same time in Michigan, they had a big thing going on where they had these charity poker rooms. And so he opened one right on the line of Michigan, Ohio there. And so he obviously was working directly with a lot of charities. So I kind of learned a little bit of how that world works. And he wasn't dealing with youth charities. They were like VFW halls or things like that. And so I kind of got a little taste of kind of working with that. And then I've just always kind of been involved in it. I think that, and I guess this is my philosophy, is there's enough kids out there that don't want to get out of the house. They want to sit there and play Fortnite or whatever video game's hot nowadays or be on the computer.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine. But there are plenty of kids out there that would love to play in organized sports, whether that's football, baseball, soccer, cheerleading, volleyball, it doesn't matter. And maybe they're in a situation financially, or their parents are, where they can't afford the extra out-of-pocket cost. I never want money to stop a kid from going out and being athletic. Look, science, studies, whatever you want to go by, has shown that athletic outside activity for the kids is good, not only for their physical, but also for their mental well-being. Whether they never get past high school athletics or anything like that, we don't care. We want them to be as successful and enjoy their youth as much as they can. That's kind of our mission.
So you mentioned, you're very transparent about your when you're right and when you're wrong, and you put out there in the group chat that everyone's in on that one, and it'll say you went whatever, 3-1 yesterday, or it'll say you went 1-3. You'll put it out there that everyone knows and can see what you're doing. Have you? And you said the guys that were getting it free before, the service free, would complain about a lot of things. What percentage do you think, like, do you lose customers and gain customers every month? Or is there, have there been times where it's dipped because you may have hit a cold streak, or times where it raised way up but then kind of leveled off? I'm just curious, like, your customer retention, how successful are you with that?
So in this industry, there's a lot of turnover. Obviously, I've befriended a lot of other people that do kind of similar things, and just kind of shop talk and kind of see what their numbers are and kind of compare numbers. Depending on the month, we run anywhere from about an 89 to 90% retention rate, which is unheard of in this industry. Most people are keeping around a 60 or 70% if they're good. People don't leave. So we had 3 losing months in 2025, and yes, occasionally people will drop out. And really what kills me is the people that join and then we go on a losing streak or have a losing week or something like that. Because then I feel terrible. Because then they probably think I'm just like every other of these tchotchkes out here, peddling a terrible product. But I think I said it on your radio show one time. I made over 1,800 sports bets in 2025. That's a lot. You're going to win a lot. You're going to lose a lot. Yeah. Like I said, we won about 1,000 roughly of them. So it works out to whatever, like 55%. But again, I'm a plus money player. A lot of these guys out here are telling you to bet minus 150, minus 170. You have to win 70% of those. I'll give you simple math, and it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. If it's an even money play and you only played even money plays and you went 50-50, you would break even. That's pretty simple.
Fair. Yeah.
That's pretty simple, right? Everybody can follow that. So when I run at about 72% of my bets are even money or longer, meaning plus 150, plus 200, and you run at 56%, you become very profitable. The problem is I feel like a weatherman a little bit, Tito, right? Because I'm not right all the time, but I am going to make it rain. If you stick around long enough, I will make it rain. But yeah, I do. I feel like a weatherman a little bit because, hey, I'm not right all the time. I'm right more than I'm wrong. And look, I wouldn't be doing this for 3 years. Look, I gave up a 6-figure job in sales to come do this, okay?
Right.
I'd go back to that in a heartbeat if this wasn't working. I promise you that. I would say peace out to all of you. I'm going back to a more stable, better paying job with benefits and everything else if this wasn't working. So to each their own. I know people have trust issues, so I always try to give people like a free month or something to come test us out or whatever. But yeah, it is what it is, man. I know in the long run we're always going to come out ahead, so you just kind of push through the bad, and there's more good than bad. So,
what's the biggest challenge for you?
Waking up every morning? No, I'm joking. No, that's a joke. So, for what? From like a handicap or from like growing
handicap and company both? Let's do handicap first. What's the biggest challenge for you with handicapping?
When players and teams do not play to their average or above average. So I have a saying, and people laugh, but it's true. If every team played at or above their season averages, I would win every bet. Now, that seems ludicrous, and we know obviously how averages work. You got to be below and above sometimes for it to work out.
Sure.
But yeah, that's the only time I really lose. And that sounds ludicrous, but I'm telling you right now, college basketball, I only lose is when the team that shoots 33% shoots 45% from three or something like that. Or a team that shoots 65% from free throws is shooting 90%, right? Where they're just way outperforming. That's the only times I really lose. Now, that happens probably more than I like. So that's the frustrating time, is when things that you think should happen don't happen, or guys or players or football, like C.J. Stroud fumbling the ball. Who can predict him fumbling the ball that many times in that football game, right? Some things you just can't predict. So that would be my frustration from the handicap side, is sometimes you can do everything right and still be wrong. So that would be my frustration there.
How about from the business side, growing your business?
From the business side is I hate self-promotion, which might sound as a surprise from people, but I hate trying to come out here and tell you I'm the best. I hate trying to come out here and tell you that I'm the greatest, like all these other touts. I'm the number one greatest sports bettor of all time. Because first of all, how do you know? And second of all, you're probably not. I let my work try to show for me. I'm not good on social media. I'm not good at promoting the business. I really like the organic way of growing it, which I've learned keeps the retention high. When your buddy tells you to come join a thing, you're much more apt to stick around and give it a shot than some random guy on the internet you just found. So I guess more of an organic. We have a referral program give free bets to people that refer people, but I want people to come for the right reasons. We're not going to make you rich overnight. We're probably not even going to change your tax bracket, if we're going to be honest, right? But what we will do is we'll keep your wife off your back so you can build that gazebo in the back or that pool in the back she keeps bugging you about. Or, or you want to take the kids to Disney. I told this on your show. We had a guy take a family of 6 on a 10-day cruise because of the winnings he made just in March. I had another guy that took his family down to Orlando, Disney there, for a week and went all to all the parks just on his winnings he made in football season. So that's what we're here to do. That's why we keep it a reasonable price. The most anybody would ever pay throughout the whole entire year would be $600 max.
Right.
Max. And a lot of times if you get in when I run some of these deals, you can pay even less than that, $300-$400 across the whole year. That's nothing. You're a $5, $10 better. You're still making a few $1,000s after you pay your membership. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster. My numbers look a little bit of a stock market. There's going to be dips. There's going to be up and down. But at the end of the day, we're going left to right. It's all vertical, baby. So just stick with me. You'll be all right. That's what I say all the time.
WeWinUwin.com is the website. WeWinUwin.com. Tell me about your turning $100 into $1 million, your progress with that, and then also about your Super Bowl squares.
Yeah, so I am determined, and I know some people scoff at the idea, and that's fine because everybody needs a little haters. And actually, maybe I should work on getting more haters, man. Where all the haters at? Come hate on your Highness. That's all right. I'll smoke a little bit before you come at me. So here's the deal. We're going to start with $100. We've already started this, by the way. And we're going to keep pressing, but it's not a full press because we're going to pocket a little money along the way so that we always have some profits. But we're going to press this up to where the final bet is for $500,000 to win $1 million. I believe it's 16 bets. We're on step number 2. So what happens is I keep winning 2 or 3, and then we get to step 4, and I lose. So all in all, we started this January 1. We're, 2 weeks in. You should be, I think, down $80 total. Okay. So it's not much. And actually, we're going to have a $150 bet going today. So we win this, you're going to be up money. But yeah, so we go from 100 to 150 to 250 to 500, 70, 750, 1200. So anyways, and I don't have them all, but we keep pressing it basically. And this is a little bit different than a parlay. I call it a mechanical parlay because I have complete control. I'm not having to make the bet every day. I'm not having to make the bet even every week. If I want to take 3 or 4 days off because I don't like any games, I can wait. So I have complete control of this. My real personal goal is to hit this before March Madness because we're going to Vegas and I would love to have $1 million quiche to take with me to Vegas. But by the end of this year, I promise I will be a millionaire. I do promise that, and I'm not saying that facetiously.
So to get in on that, what do I do? Do I just follow your picks or do I send you money or how's it work?
No, free, completely free. YouTube, the little @ symbol, shut up and bet. That's my YouTube channel. I would love a subscription. Even if you hate me, just mute me. We love the free subscription. But yeah, I post all that for free on Facebook and YouTube. I made it into like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Regis Philbin clips in there. But yeah, because who wants to be a millionaire? And by the way, Tito, if I get to the point where I'm betting like $75,000, $150,000, I have built in an option where you can phone a friend, just like the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I will be making the call. We'll get you on. Well, I'll be making a call. Maybe you can help me win $1 million, sir.
That'd be great. Yeah. And your Super Bowl squares, you're doing that again this year.
I'm terrible at promoting my own stuff. Okay. Super Bowl squares. Let me go with the charity first. The charity is going to be the Jacksonville. I'm going to mess it up. Jacksonville Sports Boosters. Anyways, it's out of Jacksonville, Florida. My best friend from college is the president of this. And what they do is all of Duval County, they go and find underprivileged families that can't afford to pay for the athletics, and they cover the cost for the kids' athletics. So they need help raising money so they can help for this. So that's where the money, $10 for every square, is going to them. So we'll give them $1,000 this month. $60, the rest of the $50 goes in the prize pool. I don't make any money and I don't participate. That's my giving back. $600 if you win a square. If you have a touching square to the north, east, west, or south, you win. Or if you have the inverse. So let's say the winning square is 7-3. That means 3-7 would also be a winner. And then the last little tidbit, because your Highness can never do anything just straight and narrow down the middle, I always have a side pot or a side contest going. And this year, it's going to be Battleship. And what is Battleship? just like the childhood game you grew up with. When a square is hit, that row and column on the board, the grid of 100, is removed. And the inverse is removed. So basically, if you win a square, you're not going to win Battleship. So if you have a terrible square, this is for you because you're going to have a chance to win $600. You do have to opt in. It's $15 to opt in. But if you sign up before the 18th, which is this Sunday, I will foot the $15 for you, and you'll get free entry to the Battleship. So yeah, so if you're one of those people that go, oh man, I always get terrible squares for Super Bowl or whatever, like, don't fret, friends. I'm here for you. We got Battleship, and you got a chance to win $600, even if you got one of those 9-5 squares that nobody wants.
Shut Up and Bets, where you can go. WeWinYouWin.com, and I'm telling you, the dude is. He's a great follow on social media, I will tell you that. And we've enjoyed having on the 97.1 The Fan, and we're going to start having him here on a weekly basis to talk and give us some advice, some picks and whatnot. Appreciate the time, brother.
We will, before I cut you off here, and I wasn't planning on doing this, but off the cuff, your listeners, let's give them a free month. Let's do this. Super Bowl is next 3 weeks. Let's give them free access through the Super Bowl. Anybody watching, listening, they just have to simply email me. My first name, Chad, CHAD, at WeWinYouWin.com. Just put in the title, Fan Stream Ohio or Tito's Fan Stream or something along those lines. We'll figure it out. It will give you completely free access to the community through the rest of football season. No credit card or anything needed, just to come show you. And right now we're on fire, folks. I will say we are on fire. $100 better should be up $2,700 this week, and where it's only Thursday. So
it's amazing. It's amazing.
All straight.
Go check him out.
He's
good.
All straight.
He's great. He's, like I say, what I love about your Highness is he's transparent on his picks. Some guys won't be that way, and it's not. It's inexpensive, and he's telling you you're going to make money. Stick with it for the year. You'll make money. It sounds like is what he does every year. So thanks for the time, brother. We'll talk soon.
I appreciate you. I love you, and I normally do this for Bobby, but I'll do it for you. Jump on the right foot and do the wrong thing. See ya.
There we go.
Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to FanstreamSports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the J.P. Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thitoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. FanstreamSports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. FanStreamSports.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, wrap things up here now. Thank you to, by the way, your Highness for joining me earlier, Jack Diwik. Diwik with the Lantern, Ohio State sports editor for that newspaper who covers Ohio State football and basketball. And then also your Highness, look, WeWinYouWin.com. Go check him out. Great content all the time by him. You'll enjoy it. I saw the news came out about Dillon Gabriel making the choice to go back to school at Oregon for another year. And Oregon had just recently gotten a commitment from Dylan Raiola, the former Nebraska quarterback, to join the team this year. He's talking about redshirting if Gabriel came back. And interesting to me that, first of all, I said from Nebraska before. Also, Raiola was from, Georgia and Ohio State, other places he committed. I don't trust the guy at all. Anybody who transfers as many times as he did has transferred. And not talking, I'm just saying like commitments. I think went to 3 high schools his last 3 years. He had committed to Ohio State and then backed off of that, committed to Georgia, and then went to Georgia for his senior year of high school, and then backed off of Georgia and went to Nebraska, and now he's going to be in Oregon, it looks like. Nonetheless, I want to talk about Dillon Gabriel and what's going to happen now. Because I think that Dillon Gabriel made a very smart long-term business decision, but he's also risking quite a bit. Think about it. This year, the 2 teams at the top of the draft, the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Jets, both need quarterbacks. That doesn't mean they'll both take quarterbacks, but the top 2 picks are going to probably be quarterbacks that those 2 teams take, or somebody trades up to get a pick because they like the quarterbacks. By going back now to college, I find it much more unlikely that Dillon Gabriel improves where he'll get drafted. he might still be the second quarterback taken. Look at the class for next season, 2027 class. You got guys like Arch Manning, who looked good at the end of the year and still has the name power. Julian Sam for Ohio State, among others. So there's some good quarterbacks there that could be coming out next year in the draft. And there's a good chance he will drop in the draft because you might not have two teams at the top that want quarterbacks. We know how Gabriel's going to look next season. He should be good still. Oregon quarterbacks normally don't take a step back, but let's just, for argument's sake, say he just does okay and he's going to drop in the draft. He's going to give up the money you make as the number 2 pick, slide back, not as much money. Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe the money he's going to make this year at Oregon is going to help offset that. Where it could work out well for him, though, is if he gets drafted later in the first round next year. Like I said, I know that's going to cost him money in the short term. But look at the teams that might be looking to take him next year, near the middle to end of the first round, potentially. We'll see. But the further down you go, breaking news on this, the further down you go, the more stable organization, the more stable coaching situation, and just the better team you're going to go to. The Jets could be a disaster. I think Las Vegas will again be a disaster. But and we'll see what happens. There's other, take, for instance, the Rams. Going to the Rams and be able to sit for a year behind Matthew Stafford, having Sean McVay there, that's a wonderful situation. Going to a team, not that the Browns would use a first-round pick. They've got 2 first-round picks, but that's a disaster organization right now, in my opinion. And I famously go back to the fact that, Dan Marino was the last of the 6 quarterbacks in the 83 draft to go in the first round. And he went to the Miami Dolphins, who already had Don Shula, already had a lot of talent. But at the top, Elway was able to overcome it. But in years past, though, look at quarterbacks that went to unstable organizations and how it affected them. Go back and look at, the Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf thing. Ryan Leaf went to the Chargers, which was not the most stable organization at the time, and flamed out there. Did not have the infrastructure there. Did not have the talent around them. Now, Peyton Manning did just fine going to a Colts team that was not great, but you can just look, see different situations there where sometimes going later in the draft is not the worst thing in the world. So Gabriel's coming back for another season and not going into the draft. I don't know. I wonder if Gabriel had a better game against Indiana, say they'd won the game and maybe won the title, would that have changed Dillon Gabriel's decision? Because he's pretty good throughout the year. But at the very end, he wasn't. They got boat raced by the Indiana Hoosiers. And so when you start looking at things like that, how does one game affect the decision? Take the NFL coaching situation. If Harbaugh and the Ravens beat the Steelers in that final week of the season, is Tomlin gone then and Harbaugh sticks? If the Steelers beat the Texans, is Tomlin still the head coach? I felt like going in to the Steelers-Texans game, the win by the 30-6 win by the Houston Texans. But I felt like going in that regardless of the outcome, Tomlin's decision was already made up. I didn't speculate whether it'd be leaving the Steelers. I just figured that nothing in that game would change his decision. And I stand by that. Likewise, Dillon Gabriel, I think that his was dependent on one game. I get it. College versus pro, head coach versus a quarterback. I understand. But I'm just saying there's certain times when I think that the mind's already made up. And I think that was the case for Mike Tomlin. And he stepped down. I think if they had won that game, he still steps down. If they had won all the way through, won the Super Bowl, I think he'd step down. Gabriel, not the same situation. I think Gabriel made his decision based on that final game he played against Indiana. All right, folks, that's it for the Jeff Thitoff Show. Thank you for tuning in again. Thank you to my guests, Jack Diwik, and then also Your Highness, make sure you check out their stuff. Your Highness has got that one fantastic thing going. He's trying to turn $100 into $1 million before the end of the year. So check him out on social media. Follow me on Twitter @ThitHappens. This has been the Tito Show. Jeff Thitoff on FanStream Sports.